Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com, and I'm joined by John Clark to talk about WWE NXT. John, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing really good. It was a very good episode of NXT. Two good nights, actually three good nights of wrestling in a row now, so pretty good.
Yeah, I was I can't say pleasantly surprised. NXT's been very solid lately, but this was a very fun show, and I was beginning to think they were gonna delay the diamond mine, and instead we got it. So we're going to talk all about that. Before we do, just want to remind you all that this show, like everything we do here at WrestleZone, is available on any number of streaming platforms: SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever it may be. We've got you covered. So leave a like and subscribe right away here. Melly Mel in the comments saying NXT was fire, and I would agree. NXT very good, pretty consistently for at least about the past month or so. And this week we had a great main event with Kyle O'Reilly and Kushida, as you might expect. Very good matchup, technical expertise on full display. These guys have a lot of history together, and this is a kind of a clash of two, I don't want to say indie darlings, but two guys that have really traveled around the world and obviously made a name for themselves. Now they're in NXT doing great things. This is I think the first time we've seen them in NXT face each other.
Yes.
So definitely a dream match there. A great match. I liked it a lot. But obviously, the big story was after the match, the Diamond Mine opened for business. John, it's finally here. We've been sitting here for weeks and weeks wondering what this thing is. And it really seemed like it was going to be a Raw Underground kind of thing, or we were thinking it was going to be some kind of segment on the show because that's what the video segments were making it seem like. Instead, Kyle O'Reilly wins this matchup, kind of rolls up Kushida, and then a hooded guy attacks him. Lo and behold, it's Roderick Strong, the guy who had handed in his notice to leave NXT. I think that was like 2 months ago
Two
now.
months ago, yeah.
Hadn't been seen since. Comes in, attacks Kyle O'Reilly after his brawl with Adam Cole, and he's not alone. Roderick Strong is joined by Tyler Rust and Hideki Suzuki, and
Yes.
Malcolm Bivens was the manager. So that is the Diamond Mine. That is this new faction in NXT. John, what do you think of this?
Yeah, so it was a rough night for Kushida to lose the match and then be attacked afterwards, have the Cruiserweight title thrown onto him. The NXT is definitely putting focus on the Cruiserweight title because all directions point to Roderick Strong and Kushida having a feud. I love this. Hideki is kind of a new face. I don't have any exposure to him. I'm not quite sure who he is. I've heard and read good things about him. Of course, we all know Malcolm Bivens. What? How about him getting a big push here?
Oh, absolutely.
And then Tyler Rust, of course, and then Roderick Strong, of course, is the headliner. It makes sense to me that him just kind of getting out of Undisputed Era, and now he kind of wants to lead his own group, kind of maybe honing in his leadership skills that he got from Adam Cole to kind of lead his own stable now. Clearly a heel stable. So nice to see Roderick Strong back again. Interesting to see how this will tie in because if you remember when he resigned, he wasn't alone when he turned in his resignation letter. He was accompanied by, I believe, his actual real life partner, right?
Right? Correct.
Yeah,
Marina Shafir. So,
yeah.
and she had been a competitor in NXT. So, stands to reason that maybe she'll be part of Diamond Mine too. But no, I'm entirely with you. I thought this was great. Maybe I was getting a little impatient. Like I said, I was thinking before the main event, like, oh, I guess we're just not going to get anything because I didn't think this would be a main event angle. Yeah, they had teased it. Yeah, they'd kind of hyped it up, but I didn't really think that this was going to happen. Like Kyle Riley
So
won.
and it's very interesting because we're getting a lot of comments about people talking about the battery charging thing that we saw, and we thought that was probably Roderick Strong.
Right.
And clearly, the question here from Kevin is the charging video someone different. Clearly, yes, it is
Yeah.
someone different. Now who knows? We could be caught off guard, and this might not actually be a person. It could be something completely different. It could be an idea, a show, whatever. Because who knows at this point? But it's clearly somebody new, not new, but somebody different than this. And one would believe that it's somebody that has been there before, since it's like a recharging thing.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, that's a completely different thing here. The Diamond Line has been exposed, introduced. Who we'll see what they do next. Very nice cliffhanger there at the end. It was nice to see Samoa Joe come out as well there at the end to kind of restore order. I was afraid that if O'Reilly and Cole just kind of brought it out and we didn't get Joe, people would be like, "Whoa, isn't that Joe's job now to do this?" But
Right.
he did come out and basically do his job. So all in all, I mean, the whole show is great, but the main event, of course, the way they executed everything from the match to the O'Reilly Cole thing to the cruiserweight and to Diamond Mine, all that, it was very well executed.
Yeah, I thought it was a great ending to the show between the match, post match angle. For me, I'm a sucker for like post match angles like this with a cliffhanger like that. Finally getting to see what the Diamond Mine is, and kind of having that surprise deliver. Like Roderick Strong, good for him, and Tower Russ has been impressive in what we've seen of him. Malcolm Bivens as well, good for him, and like you said, Hideki Suzuki, definitely a new face there. So kind of four distinct roles like that, where it's like Roderick Strong, star, Tyler Russ, kind of underrated guy that's impressed in some, and what we have seen. Malcolm Bivens, the mouthpiece, and Hideki Suzuki being the kind of X factor there. So definitely a lot of comments supporting NXT overall. Neshkur saying great NXT, they kill it again. Kevin J. Truff saying NXT has been solid of late, great storytelling and action, very compelling. I would agree. So I'm very much looking forward to next week, assuming we get some explanation of this. Like, I'd be curious to see exactly how they explain like Roderick Strong handing in his notice and then coming back.
Let me
That
ask you a question though about all this. Does it concern you that we're getting yet another faction slash stable that is a heel? Because the Way are heels. This group here, Diamond Mine, are heels. Hit Row are heels. Does that have any consequence to you? What do you think about the fact that basically we have four stables on NXT now that are all heels?
That's fair, right? And just I can answer that by addressing Iridian Furo's comment here. Roddy has that main character energy now. Like, this is a great way for him to become like a real bona fide singles guy in NXT. So to me, I take less issue with it because this is clearly. I don't know. I'm optimistic that this will be good for NXT by having this group, and I guess on the plus side, it is four, so it's not quite AEW level. Not to make that comparison, but it's inevitable, right? Like, where AEW just got
Yeah,
so many stables. But I think we said this probably when Hit Row formed and arrived. We are even back then. We were like, all right, they're in danger of becoming that, of AW's, perhaps excess of stables. At this point, it is four heel stables, and I will say may seem weird to think, but tonight, even though Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory were very much healing it up in a lot of ways, I couldn't help but think that maybe down the road, and maybe not even that far in the future, they could turn face, kind of like
yeah,
the Inner Circle in a way. So I could kind of see that being one solution, or kind of pivot to avoid having four heel groups like that.
yeah.
Um,
And I
that
don't.
that would be my prediction at this point. Is that I think Hit Row very clearly. I don't really see them being faced right off the bat. Obviously, Diamond Mine coming in as a heel group, so that kind of feels like the best, uh, the best answer for
Yeah,
that, right?
and I also don't see Legado del Fantasma
That
being.
forgot about them. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
So
that's.
of the groups, I think the Way makes the most sense, even though in some ways they're the most heelish. But then there's the classic wrestling logic that the best heels can be just as good as baby faces. So
And
I guess
I don't want to seem like I'm complaining about the number of stables, and I'm not. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite and say that, oh, AEW has all these stables and now NXT has all these stables. I'm saying that the balance is not there between good guys and bad guys.
right,
There should be a good guys group. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good guy babyface teams that are just two people, but we don't really have those 4 or 5 person, even when we had Undisputed Era back then. But then again, as people have been saying in the comments, usually a stable of this size works much better as heels because they can kind of come in a dog eat dog. They're just attacking somebody, and it doesn't work well when you're a babyface team. So, and let's not forget Imperium, who also could arguably
right,
be
right.
also a heel faction. So,
I would agree. So I think
uh,
that's entirely fair. For me, you know, it's just kind of the way, it's a very like wrestling oriented like pattern. Stables are used to build people up, and you know, if they're done right, you know, that, as Jesse might have pointed out in the comments, having more stables, if it works out, then you in theory would successfully build up at least a couple like actual, you know, singles guys down the road. But I would say no, there's definitely valid concern for the lack of balance of heels and face groups here. But it is worth mentioning, as Chris pointing out, people like, especially in NXT, the Capital Wrestling Center, the live crowds, they'll cheer the heels. So even if a group or even a singles guy is being booked as a heel, they can still get cheered if they're quote unquote cool enough, or if they, you know, there's kind of a gray area, especially given the NXT specific crowd. I think we've seen that for quite a while now. So that's something there as well. And again, I like this comment from Kevin Daychuff about the Gargano and the weight comparison. My thought there about them turning face. They did mention Johnny wrestling a lot tonight. It feels like they've been trying to like return to that being his nickname. And of course, Johnny Wrestling was Johnny Babyface, Johnny Takeover, like the face of NXT. So I feel like that's where we're going. Right.
Well, while you mentioned Johnny Gargano, we might as well talk about Johnny Gargano and the fact that tonight they had a tag match, Gargano and Austin Theory. It started out with the whole, now we're going to show respect to William Regal because we're afraid of Samoa Joe. That's how they're playing it off. And so they get themselves a tag match with, of course, Pete Dunne and Danny Burch. Or what, was it Danny or was it
It was Oni Lorcan.
Yes, Oni. Danny's the one that's hurt. So yeah. So there was a tag match there, and of course the match was good, but I think what people were talking about more was after what happened after the match, which coincides directly with what you're saying about possibly him being babyface. Karrion Kross attacked him.
From behind.
Johnny Gargano got the upper hand on Pete Dunne. Clearly, this appears in the direction we're going. Karrion Kross, Johnny Gargano. There have been rumblings. I mean, in fact, Karrion Kross has already basically kind of moved to the main roster, even though it's on main event. That counts, I think.
I would agree. Yeah.
So if they have bigger plans for him, which it looks like they might, and I believe you mentioned this earlier as well, who better than Johnny Gargano, Mr. NXT, to kind of get things back on track and kind of be like your transitional champion until somebody else is there. That's the role that Gargano and Tommaso have both played in NXT for a very long time. That's what they want to do. They're comfortable with it. But back to the discussion of him possibly being a babyface, it works in this case. The match was good tonight. The character is there. I'm a little worried about Austin Theory being with him because fans don't really get behind him. Of course, he has history, stuff like that. Not to mention the tag champs, Candy, or
right.
yeah, Candice and Indy, who also aren't necessarily good people. So, but this might end up tying in with Dexter Lumis and all that stuff as well. Thankfully, we didn't get any of that garbage tonight.
Thankful. John Clark roasting Index. I will not have it. All right. No. All right. I am upset that we have not gotten anything about Index since what was it? Takeover in Your House. And even that was a very brief backstage thing. Where's the latest chapter of this wonderful soap opera? Where's the romance? Where's the love? We didn't see anything tonight. Nothing. What's up with that? Come on. But we can talk about that more a little bit. There's nothing more to really talk about because they weren't even on the show. But I like this comment from Kevin Daychuff saying Austin Theory could turn on Gargano in this potential match with Karrion Kross. Therefore, Gargano could turn face, keep Theory heel. There are some possibilities there of, I don't know, Gargano going off on its own, the way remaining heel rather than the entire group turning heel. I don't know. There is definitely an interesting dynamic there. I'm very curious to see what they do. It is worth noting that Kross isn't a face either. Like, they've been pretty clearly positioning him as a heel lately. He insulted William Regal, like mocked him when he was going to retire, supposedly, seemingly retire before Samoa Joe came back. So they're clearly kind of going in that direction. Then I would say, you know, it feels like we are going to get Gargano as a face sooner rather than later. And you mentioned it yourself, like Johnny Gargano, very much the heart and soul of NXT in the event that Kross officially gets called up. And it feels like that's happening soon because he did compete on main event this week. He's been working dark matches otherwise for the main roster officials. Not too crazy to wonder that he'll be getting called up. So Gargano, I say old reliable, but He is very, he's the face of NXT. He, they can trust him. He's got a lot of, name value to NXT. He's not going anywhere. So, to me, I don't see that happening anytime soon. So I could definitely see that.
He's very clearly on the Mount Rushmore of NXT.
Oh, for sure.
No argument.
Now, speaking of the Mount Rushmore of NXT, Adam Cole was in action tonight, former NXT champion. This started the show. He came out. He was going to face an opponent of his choosing. And at first he was like, no, man, I'm good. I'm not going to face anybody. Then Carmelo Hayes comes out. And if you remember, Carmelo Hayes, formerly Christian Casanova, faced Kushida a couple weeks ago in an open challenge. He looked really good. He was impressive. I think that was maybe 2 weeks ago or so. Hadn't seen him since. He comes in and he's like, hey, I'm going to change your mind. You're going to face me. And then recreates the classic John Cena ruthless aggression moment when he had with Kurt Angle. Literally said the line, ruthless aggression, and threw the mic at him, slapped him in the face. There we go. We have a match. And this was basically NXT at its best. Adam Cole wins, as he should, makes him look strong. But Carmelo Hayes looked very strong. He looked like a credible opponent as well for this in his second match here. Like just 2 matches in a row here against Kushida, against Adam Cole. Currently, like they seem to kind of see big things in him. So very impressive showing from him. Adam Cole wins. He'll be going on to face Kyle O'Reilly at Great American Bash, and that'll be a very good match when that happens. But what do you think of the showing from Hayes and I guess the latest, I guess, I could maybe step toward O'Reilly and Cole here?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This really didn't do it for me. I was in the crowd of hoping to see somebody a little more exciting than Carmelo Hayes, but it was fine. Adam Cole's theme song sucks. It's
And
pretty bad.
everybody in fear of wondering what was. There's no way you don't know when to say "baby" now. Like that's his whole thing was great. Everybody
we say it when he goes like this, and he's about to go like this. That's when you know to say it. So,
but it just doesn't fit the same. It is not good. I like that a lot, and it's disappointing that they got rid of that. I will say, I know you just mentioned yourself, you just didn't really do it for you, but NXT does have to build new stars somehow. And a guy like Carmelo Hayes, you bring him in, he has a great match with Kishida, comes out here, they gotta give some, you gotta start somewhere. Like, again, this felt like a pretty good way to give a new guy a pretty prominent spot here. So I liked that. I thought that was good for him. So I liked it. I thought maybe the
match was good. The match was very good. And I think that the build up to this kind of rematch is very good as well. But I just didn't like that, especially that they copied like I was obviously a blatant attempt to copy the whole Cena thing.
Right.
And of course that's fine, but I don't know. There was definitely a mixed reaction to this. Some people loved it because, well, you're going to put him in there with the best. Let's see what he can do. And then other side of the argument was, well, start him out with whatever, something lower. I don't know. I was okay, but it wasn't anything great, I didn't think.
No, I mean, to me, I just thought it was fine. And he lost, but he looked good. And now the next time he shows up, you can say, okay, like he held his own with Adam Cole. So therefore, he automatically looks a little stronger the next time we do see him. So it feels like he's being set up for some pretty quick success over on NXT. Now, we've talked about the men's division and everything. One thing that definitely was impressive overall tonight was the women's division, and we saw definitely a couple developments there. We will see a triple threat tag team match next week to determine the new number 1 contenders for the tag titles. That will be Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai versus Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart versus Zoe Stark and Io Shirai. So that'll definitely be a star-studded match. And the winner of that match will go on to face the champions Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell at the Great American Bash. And that match came about after Zoe Stark and Io Shirai defeated the Robert Stone brand. And this was the most TV time I can remember the Robert Stone brand having in quite some time. It was Jessie, Camilla, and Aaliyah. I thought they looked pretty good. And at least during the match, I was like, well, they're getting some time here. And I feel like they might be being set up as a legitimate tag team in NXT because NXT lacks tag teams. But then, lo and behold, we had 3 tag teams come out, and it was like, all right, we're getting this triple threat match next week. And I will say I like seeing Raquel Gonzalez challenge or I should say pursue the tag titles, because she's the women's champion. That makes the tag titles feel more important, even if she's in a way taking a backseat to her own title, defense. I think they're. I don't know. I think I look at it that way. I don't know if you agree,
I
but
agree. Yeah, I do agree.
which of these teams would you see as the most likely to challenge Candice and India at this point?
As crazy as it might seem, I'm guessing that we're probably going to see Io Shirai and Zoe Stark win. I wouldn't be opposed to Ember and Shotzi kind of getting that other opportunity to win him back, but the writing is on the wall for Io and Zoe to win this and either come apart as a team or basically repeat what Tommaso and Thatcher are doing and maintain that cohesive unit to make themselves known to be a serious threat as a tag team, even though that's not really what either of them should be doing. Io should probably move up to the main roster, and Zoe Stark should, I don't know, get a push as a single star. But they've kind of put themselves into a hole because now they want to pay so much attention to this tag division where you have to basically have teams to make it work. So they're kind of putting together people, sort of like Raw did. And so see if it works.
Yeah, and I think I would agree that I guess of the options here, Zoe and Io would make the most sense. I don't necessarily want to see Ember and Shotzi face the way again. We've seen that match a couple times recently. Dakota and Raquel, even if they're not starting a feud with each other, if we're not getting that storyline yet, I probably want to see Raquel in action on her own at Great American Bash potentially to really build up that card. So not quite sure how to, and even if it's a transitional thing, I think that would be beneficial. So Zoe and Io, even if they're, I would agree that they may be better off on their own. But even, at least for now, I don't see the harm in having them pair together. It helps boost up Zoe Stark. It gives Io Shirai something to do, and it makes sense because she's kind of been feuding with Candice again. So I think that makes sense to me. So I think that would be the way that I would prefer to see that go. And I hope they take the time with Raquel and Dakota because I think that'll be a very fun storyline whenever that does happen. So elsewhere in the women's division, we saw the encore premiere for Frankie Monet. She faced Elektra Lopez tonight. Not really familiar with her. I think she was a new face as far as I know. She definitely got a lot more offense in than I expected. I mean, I expected a fairly decisive win for Frankie Monet. Instead, Elektra got in a good amount of offense and looked pretty competitive. But nonetheless, Frankie Monet won. I still like the way they're presenting her. She's got that star power. She's got this cool entrance where she feels like a movie star. Now she's 2-0 in NXT, but we don't really know where she's going here. Like she doesn't really have a clear feud. She doesn't really have a clear direction. So I don't know. It kind of feels a little similar to LA Knight, although he pretty quickly entered a feud with Bronson Reed when he arrived. So I feel like maybe she'll find somebody sooner rather than later. But I would agree with Nesha Kurse here, saying she loves Frankie, next woman's champ. I mean, I said when she first arrived, I hope she kind of quickly rises through the ranks here. Not too quickly, but she does have definitely that legitimate success, that star power, that experience, the success elsewhere. So to me, it wouldn't be too hard or unreasonable to build her up very much. But what do you think of the showing from Frankie and potentially where she's going from here?
Yeah, definitely very good competitor, very good charisma, just all around a very good character for NXT, kind of the definition of what you want in NXT. And as far as what's next, I was still convinced that Io was next in line for Raquel, but it doesn't seem like that might be the case anymore. So maybe she could be next in line, but I still think that you need to do Dakota and Raquel next. You just need to. There's a ton of women on the roster for Zoe to, or not just Zoe, but Frankie and all those female superstars for something to do. So they can make it work. But the question is, it all comes down to the confidence. How ready do they think she is? It's kind of why they've been like sneaking her in once every couple of weeks and mostly doing promos. But I mean, you seem to think she's ready, and I think she's ready too. So
I will
let's
say, I wrote up a piece. So, but she did a couple interviews this week to hype up her match this on NXT tonight. And one quote that stood out to me, it was with an interview with PW Insider, and she was saying basically, yeah, she has all this experience. She was a world champion in Impact Wrestling. She's competed in Mexico, all over the world, has enjoyed a lot of success all over the world. But there's the classic narrative about anyone who signs with WWE in theory needs to learn the quote unquote WWE style. And
Yep.
in the interview, she had said something like, she kind of has to learn, something that she did in Mexico and Impact. She didn't name Impact, but just what she named where things she did elsewhere may not necessarily translate as well in WWE. So, she said it is a learning experience and she's enjoying it, but it is inherently challenging like that. So, and that's not to say that she isn't ready, but she is learning.
It's definitely true because I've seen the comparison made where obviously wrestling is wrestling, but there's different companies, and people have made the comparison. Well, a cell phone is a cell phone, but Android and Apple, there's a learning curve because they're different.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's the same thing here. It's learning a whole different style, whole different company, whole different policy, procedures, things like that. And they're not just going to throw anybody out there until they know that they're capable of doing it the way they want you to do it, not the way you want to do it, the way they want you to do it.
And that's something I think Triple H had said a while ago in one of the media calls. I think he was talking about how impressive MSK was. And like they very quickly arrived. They took off. They got the tag titles very quickly. And he said that they were like sponges. They learned very fast. And then they kind of earned that trust. Lo and behold, they get the titles. They're ready. And the same thing could happen with Taya Valkyrie, or sorry, Frankie Monet, or she might need more time. It remains to be seen. I'm sure that once she is ready, she's going to do great things, and we'll be sitting here talking about how amazing she is because she is very, very talented. I should mention that she does have a direction. I more meant maybe a feud, but the second week in a row here, she was backstage with the Robert Stone brand, Aaliyah and Camilla, and she was very clearly kind of positioning them kind of against Robert Stone. And it feels like we are getting maybe some tease, at least, that she'll be, taking over. And she had a little clip tonight. She said we could be the winner circle. Little inner circle reference there over AEW there. Thought that was kind of funny. But two people in the comments, DJ Tessier and Gabriel Perez, saying that, wondering if Frankie could take over the Robert Stone brand, getting rid of Robert Stone, and going forward with that could be a way to kind of have her be on NXT, have her do promos, have her be involved, but kind of maybe slow the need to have her kind of compete all the time. And if that is a concern, or if they do want to kind of have her take her time and learn, do you feel like we are going to kind of see her take over that brand or the Robert Stone brand and build a faction like that? Or, I mean, but then that kind of goes back to what you said a little bit ago. Yeah, another potentially heel group, even though this would be the women's division and there's less stables in the women's division. I think that still applies.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. There's definitely something going on there. I'm not sure if that's what it is, but they clearly have something in mind. I think it's maybe just breaking them up. Like maybe she just wants to break them apart, but she's, I don't know, she gives off the vibe of being a good guy and a bad guy at the same time because it's like her promos come off as like arrogant, selfish, self-centered, but the in-ring performance and the entrances and the opponents that she's given come across that she's supposed to be a face. So I don't know.
Yeah, it remains to be seen, and I'm looking forward to it. I want to see more of this character in terms of like it seems a little vague so far. And that's Chris saying snobbish, very like
Yes.
better than you, like movie star, rich, kind of, almost like some elements of the LA Knight character, where it's just like rubbing that kind of wealth and excess indirectly in her peer's face. I don't know. But I see what you're saying. She does feel kind of like a very. She could be a great baby face as well. Jesse Mata saying that she's like the equivalent of the NXT equivalent of John Morrison, which is funny because they're married. So I like that comparison there, and I think there's a lot of truth to it.
Let's
So
not. Let's not forget that she carries a live animal around with her too, to like all of her promos and matches and things like. And I'm curious to see like how that works whenever fans come back, because is she just gonna have like a dog running around like ringside, like for real?
I
So I mean,
mean,
it's
yeah, could happen. It's yet another thing where it'll be interesting to see how that that changes when live fans return. There are any number of things. I mean, we've seen I mean, granted, the world's a different place now with the pandemic and everything, but in wrestling, we've seen live animals in ringside before. I feel like it's been quite a while since we've really seen something like that on a regular basis, especially in WWE. So I don't know. I think that is a good question. And that's something to keep an eye on. And so, something else to keep an eye on. Frankie could become the manager of Camilla and Aaliyah, currently in the WrestleZone brand. So, like we were saying a minute ago, if she does take over the stable or the WrestleZone brand and manage them, then I think, yeah, I think they could be pushed. I was impressed by them tonight. They did get a lot of TV time. It feels like, even though they lost, they might be in this position where they're getting kind of pushed as a legitimate tag team because NXT needs more of them in the women's division, especially. So, I know I think that is a fair prediction, I think, at this point. So while we're on subject of stables here, John, you tweeted me and you mentioned that you wanted me to explain if I had any answer for why people like Hit Row Records. They were in action tonight, and I know that you have mentioned that you don't understand all this positive buzz about them, why people really seem to be liking them already. And I mentioned that last week as well, that it didn't make a whole lot. Like I didn't necessarily see it either. I will say this week they had a cool entrance, cool theme song. They got like kind of the smoke in their entrance. They have a lot of, I guess, swagger. I guess, got a cool look. Got four talented people. They work well together. Top Dollar, big guy, got a lot of size. I tweeted about it, but WWE's got a bunch of big guys right now. You got Top Dollar, Omos, and Commander Aziz, and they each bring something different to the table. And here we saw Top Dollar and Ashanti the Adonis face Everrise, and Top Hit Row Records won pretty decisively in that regard. So maybe they're going to be built up as a tag team, or at the very least just as a stable that wins, right, as a winning stable. And as we also saw Isaiah Swerve Scott confront Bronson Reed backstage, so now we've got potentially Hit Row Records at least in the ranks, and maybe sooner and later challenging for the two different titles there. So, but I still don't really know, beyond just the fact that they have some swag and they look cool and they got a cool song and they're charismatic. I don't really know. I mean, but more people are, at least in our comment section, people seem divided about it. Craig Backlund saying he loves Hit Row. Stephen Chambers saying, Jesse Mata saying, I have to agree with you, John, that he's not seeing the Hit Row appeal. And Herman Dakar saying he doesn't like Hit Row either. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go so far as to say that they suck or they're terrible or anything, but I don't know. I don't.
They were like, this is legitimate. They were actually trending on Twitter tonight. Like the term Hit Row was a top 10 trend in the United States tonight. And besides the obvious hashtag of WWE NXT, Hit Row was the top trending NXT term tonight. And
that's weird to me. That's
so
something.
clearly people see something in this and are entertained by it and they like it. And I'm still trying to figure out, I guess, why. And people in the comments are figuring it's like an unwritten rule or like a secret thing where like they're just cool. Like that's just how it is. Like nobody knows why or how or anything like that. So and when I try to look up, like obviously when it's trending, you can click on it to see all the tweets about it. And all I see is people just saying like, "Oh, this is so cool! I love this." Make the whole show about them. Nobody actually ever says like why. Like why are they like? I don't know. I don't get it.
I think I would agree with Nesha Kurst. She says, I'm in the middle on Hit Row. It's still new so far, and I like what I see. I think that's kind of where I would come off. I will say it's different, at least for WWE, especially for NXT. For people of color in the stable, you don't necessarily see that a lot, and they're being booked. It's not necessarily a stereotype or anything like that. And I think that the Hurt Business worked in that sense as well. Now we're seeing Hit Row Records, and it's very different. It's not the same. So maybe there's something to that where it is kind of just different and different in a good way, and not just. And I think they're doing it well. They're being presented as this legitimate group of four people that want to be successful in NXT. I don't know. I guess that's kind of what I would tend to think maybe people see in this. And like I said, they do kind of have that maybe that it factor they can't really describe. They've charismatic, they've got swag, so there's something to be said for that. So and just I was saying Hit Row is a catchy name, so you know they got a good name too, so that helps. And like I said, I guess I like the theme, their theme song, theme song and their entrance. So I mean that's good as well. Winning recipes for a stable like that. We'll say kind of Iridian Fierro thinks she likes the Everrise skits. Yeah, tough loss for Everrise. I mean, it was good to have them in a match here, but I think this is the first time they've competed since I think the end of April or so. So you know, they've been a while since they've competed, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I at least they're still being featured on NXT, and you know, I guess better to be on TV than off of it. But and not that I expected them to win this match, but this was pretty clearly like it was kind of a squash match. So there was kind of a but maybe not the best position to be in there. But finish on Nando chipping in saying that there's something said for that intangible of coolness. They're cool, John. They're just cool. It's a combination of charisma, style, presence, and likability, and Hit Row has it. Wonderful comment, James. I like it.
For some reason, I think the live crowd's gonna like eat this up and just love it. Like they're gonna be rapping along with them and just dancing and just I don't know. That's the vibe I get here, and nothing wrong with that. I guess we'll see what unfolds, but it's going to be interesting to see if they get any championship opportunities, and if they do, if it's for tag or if it's just Isaiah or if does this female wrestle? I mean, I don't think she's a wrestler, is she? Is she just like I don't know, like a...
We have not seen her wrestle yet, and we got some questions about that in the comments, and I don't know. I mean, right now she seems to be just their manager, and that seems to be it so far. That week, and maybe it could be a thing where she's training and she's preparing for that. But I don't know. I haven't heard anything. But there's nothing that I've seen that's been reported about that. So right now, it seems like she's their manager, and they're, I guess, for an old school term, they're valet. But we could see her wrestle at some point. But I don't know. You know, if she can wrestle, I'd be curious to see what that would look like. For me, when she first arrived, I think the Jade Cargill comparisons over in AEW were pretty fair to make, because you know I think they kind of have similar presence about them, and yeah, I mean I'd like to see potentially see that. But if she's not a wrestler, then that's that. So you know, I don't know, but want to shine a little more light on the fact that at least it's for one night or 2 weeks in a row, like we were saying a little bit earlier. No index. And John, I know you seem to relieve about that, but if it has been like 2 weeks, so you know Michael Kent saying they killed what was wrestling on NXT, and it's index seems like, and it seems like index is quote unquote dead. I mean, 2 weeks is a long time in a weekly episodic show.
It's about to be 3.
What?
It's about to be 3.
Yeah, you know,
then 4, then 5.
I just can't believe they would just not give any payoff at all.
I mean, I don't think they dropped it. I certainly think that they don't care about it as much, because if they did, it would have a part on the show, clearly. But who knows? I'm fine if it is just like Alexa Bliss Lily doll. It's just forgotten about, like it never happened.
Well, at least with Lily over on Raw, you know, Alexa said she's in timeout, and she referenced her, so she's still kind of in canon, and they're kind of keeping that quote unquote alive. Was this 2 weeks? Pretty. I'm not quite sure. I maybe have missed Candice or Indy mentioning Dexter last week or something, but no real development. And you know, for me, this is like if this is the case, and for all we know, next week we're sitting here and there'll be something new. But right here tonight, I'm saying, okay, you know, I'm a little disappointed. It's like the hacker thing over on SmackDown. If they just drop it, granted, months later, Mustafa Ali said, "Oh, I was the hacker all along."
Yes, that's what they'll do. They'll just forget about it, and then like come November, they'll just come out and hug, and that'll be it.
But I'm a Vanessa Curse. She says, I'm sad. I want Indy to get her man. Yes. You know, I want this. I want the payoff. If you're going to have this soap opera, this, you know, branching storyline, this dynamic progression week to week, and to keep it going, give me something to make it all worth it. Because otherwise, like, what are we doing here? If you're going to be sitting there every week watching this and getting invested, at least me, maybe not you, John, but, or, you know, if you're into this, if you like the storyline, if you want to see that payoff, if you don't get it, then yeah, you're going to be disappointed. If, again, we're saying if that is the outcome here, and I hope that's not the case. I think those are pretty much the biggies for NXT tonight. I mean, in terms of what happened on the show, we did see a little brief follow up for LA Knight and Cameron Grimes. LA Knight, the $1 million megastar, got a promo from poolside. He had a cigar, and I tweeted about it. He is everything the $1 million champion should be. He is, to me, in a lot of ways, the modern day Ted DiBiase, the best comparison there. I thought it was a brief promo, but he was saying that he dropped Ted because he didn't need him last week, and he's a $1 million champion. He called Cameron Grimes a moron. Cameron Grimes later on was handing out money, and we're pretty clearly heading for a rematch there. Cameron Grimes turning babyface here, and I would expect to see that at the Great American Bash. I think that'll be a very fun matchup. Would expect to see Knight win again, but I could be wrong, because I would imagine the payoff for this one could very well be Grimes getting Knight getting some comeuppance and Grimes getting revenge. And lastly, one little thing here. Jake Atlas and Mercedes Martinez next week will face Xia Li and Boa, the continuation of Mercedes Martinez's feud with Xia Li and Tian Sha. Brief interaction here where Xia Li attacked Martinez backstage, and Jake Atlas kind of made the save. So we're getting that next week, and maybe that'll be potentially another rematch at Great American Bash, or maybe just a random episode of NXT beyond that. But any thoughts on either of those, John, about Grimes and Knight and or Atlas and Martinez versus Tian Sha?
Yeah, so we're clearly going to get more, obviously, between Grimes and LA Knight. They just kind of held it over tonight with a short little sweet promo. I hope Xia Li and Boa go over next week, because their promos have been very good recently, and obviously they've been built to look pretty dominant, so it would suck if they just kind of lost the momentum there. So I'd like to see them come out on top as well. Should be a good show next week too, kind of like a tag team themed show.
Yeah.
And then of course in 2 weeks is what I like to call TV special, which is the Great American Bash. For the second year in a row, we're gonna get it on cable TV. We'll rate the show 1 to 10. What'd you think?
I'll go for maybe like an 8.2. 8.0 for you?
Yeah.
Or I thought you were saying 0 overall. I'm like,
No,
John
no.
Clark roasting NXT tonight.
No,
8.0. No, I think that's a good score. It was a good show. I liked it, and not perfect by any means, but great closing angle with Diamond Mine. My number would have been probably a good amount lower if we did not get Diamond Mine, because they said they were going to, and
yeah, I would have been
gonna...
upset too if they hyped that up all night, and then what did they did something a couple of weeks ago where they said something was going to happen and it just never happened. I think it was on Raw. There was some match that was
Oh,
supposed to
happens all
happen
the time,
and
and
it just didn't
that's the very
happen.
unfortunate thing. For me, there's one example where, like, I think maybe one Monday afternoon they had announced Randy Orton was going to face Braun Strowman, and then the same day
Yes,
they
that's what it
changed.
was.
Yeah,
They tweeted it all day, and then when the show came, it just like it never happened.
thankfully NXT seems to be a little more of a smooth sailing ship. So
Well, that's because you got Triple H in charge, not Vince McMahon.
yeah, that's hard to disagree. As for the viewers here, James Espanto, friend of the show, Nando with a fun 7.9, maybe a little low, but he had fun, so that's what counts. Kevin Taylor with a 9, DJ Cassier with a 9.7, very nice. Herman Takaro with an 8.5. So very clearly people liking what they saw for NXT tonight. Some people a little lower. Jess Mondo with a 7.7, Laura Rock with 7.6, Nasha Kurtz with an 8 as well there. So definitely
wow, and Luke says average. Next week will be worse before the Great American Bash puts on a great. So he's basically saying we're going to go from average to below average to great. Which, I mean, I guess. I mean, I think next week won't be too bad. I get the idea of like a go home show, which this could technically be, is usually not the best, but I think NXT usually does a good job with that. We do got to talk about one thing before. DJ's commenting and says, "Who's the battery?" We should address the fact that now we know it's not Roderick Strong. So, do you have any ideas on who the battery might be?
Man, I don't know. This is going to quickly turn into the next Diamond Mine, because I'm sitting here and I have no idea. And other than the idea that it's very probably either someone who is already in NXT and's been missing for a while, or the off chance that it's somebody on the main roster kind of coming back to NXT to quote unquote recharge, like the battery we're seeing. And I don't know who that would be.
I my, if I had to throw a name out there right now, I think it's Tegan Knox.
That was my like when I had thought that a little bit tonight. If we're going, yeah, we're going the idea that someone recharging their batteries. I don't know. Yet again, just like Diamond Mine, some people are guessing Tessa Blanchard. I don't see that. You know, maybe if WWE's interested in her, and I don't even know about that at this point. So, yeah, I don't know. Craig Backlund saying Bobby Fish. He already came back. You know,
Yeah,
so that wouldn't feel.
I've seen speculation that it might be Walter or it might be Finn Balor. I don't think it's either of them. I don't think they've been going
No,
long enough for it to be them.
I don't think it'd be that. This feels like something a little more hyped up here. Iridian Fierro saying Simone Johnson, The Rock's daughter. I don't. Again, where's the thing about someone recharging? Like to me, there's return like right there. I don't think it's me Finn Balor. I see maybe him more likely moving up to the main roster sooner and later. I don't know. And then Neshker saying Samoa Joe maybe returning to the ring. But I feel like that it'd be a surprise, a return, something new. Joe already came back. Keith Lee, I think Keith Lee, you know, again, don't really know what's going on there, but if there really is nothing for him on the main roster, which would be a crying shame, but if that is the case, maybe he'll come back to NXT or Jinder Mahal, but you know, he recently returned to Raw, so that would make a lot of sense. Like I gotta think it's somebody that we haven't seen recently, and recently being a relative term. So at least for the past month, 2 months, and to me that would eliminate Jinder Mahal. That would eliminate a good amount of people on the main roster because we've seen them. Damian Priest is injured right now, reportedly hurt his back, so I don't think it'll be him.
Kona Reeves.
Maybe, apparently, you know, I think I heard they're a little high on him. I think I saw a part about him recently. Maybe. I mean, that'd be a bit of a letdown to me. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
It was so last week we got it from 0 to 21%, and this week we got it from 21% to 51%. So it's almost like maybe they'll get it to 100 for the Great American Bash. And I love I love the suggestions here that it could be Daniel Bryan. To me, it wouldn't make sense because this is like an NXT thing, so I feel like it's like if you're recharging, it's based off of NXT before. But throw all logic out the window. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to expect for Diamond Mine. A lot of people, you know, predicted even maybe a little early on that it would be Roderick Strong, and I was like, I don't see that. So I'm sitting right here, and I'm going to be shooting down all these ideas, but like I don't know, like I feel like it will be someone returning, whether from injury or you know just from taking time off or being away for a while. DJ Garcia predicting the Demon Finn Balor. I don't think it's going to be Balor, you know, because he's been on the NXT. Granted, he went away again, but he was just back again, so I don't necessarily see that. Dan O'Brien as Herman Takara and Craig Backler mentioning, maybe, but then again, that's kind of just speculation because he's, you know, his contract status is pretty unclear right now. But at the end of the day, Nestor Chris has the best year. You never know. Well, I don't know what it's going to be. I am hopeful, just like Diamond Mine.
I've seen people making extreme guesses like Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey, so it could be. No.
You never know with WWE, but you know it's not going to be that. I mean, it's NXT. You got to like lower the bar a little bit. It could be someone on the main roster coming down. Kevin Owens maybe as a wild card, pure speculation there, but I don't see anything too crazy. I mean, yeah, even the Diamond Mine. It was cool to see Roderick Strong, Tyler Ross, Knock Vivens, and Hideki Suzuki, but that wasn't like this, you know, mind-blowing thing like, you know, Becky Lynch. That wasn't anything too crazy. So, you know, not to say that the bar is low, but you know, I'm not expecting anything too wild there. But I'm gonna hope we're gonna know at the Great American Bash, and that will be, I guess, yeah, two weeks away. So, you know, we're not gonna hope seemingly, yeah, as you mentioned, John, it got up to 50% tonight. I would assume by Great American Bash, it's gonna be 100. We're gonna know. And then when that comes around, we'll be right here at WrestleZone talking about it because that's what we do to try and keep you guys entertained, to help you and enjoy the wrestling, which is what we do. John, you and I, other than this week, the schedule is a little shaken up. So hopefully we'll be back to normal next week with the Monday Night Raw post show. But we're here, John, you and I, every week talking about NXT. The Dynamite Dudes to talk about AEW, all with Marcus and Dominic D'Angelo, and they also do WCW Written, talking about fun fans booking stuff. Robert DeFelice and I talk about Friday Night SmackDown. But then we might have an off week this week because I'm taking a very rare vacation. So we'll be again a little hectic this week with some schedule changes, but hopefully next week we'll be back to normal, full on with the routine here. So thank you for your patience and your understanding, and then also a great stream of interviews coming at you guys, whether it's Bill Pritchard recently interviewing Alexander Wolf, Eric Rowan, Fred Rosser, or Darren Young. I interviewed Ring of Honor star Bateman that came out earlier this week, so make sure to check that out. All these things and more available on any number of streaming platforms, whether it's SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever it may be. We've got you covered, so leave a like and subscribe. John, we do one thing here above all others at WrestleZone, and I need you to tell me what that is.
Enjoy wrestling.
Indeed. Thanks for listening.